Peer Talk, a dialogue with business owners just like you. Peer Talk conversations run the gamut of business challenges facing owners today. The host of Peer Talk is Dan Crowley, founder and owner of Peer Executive Groups, which provides a safe space for owners to share their experience, grow their businesses, and learn from their peers.
Okay, welcome to Peer Talk. There are a number of great business owners out there, just like yourself, who would love to share their experiences with you, and we hope to give them a voice. My name is Dan Crowley. Today we have a special session with Josh Nickell interviewing Brett Stewart from Track First and focusing on Garrett Shurling of Badger Rental Services business. Today they will focus on implementing EOS in the business. They have had 2 previous webinars where they discussed business operating systems, what they are and why you need one. And then they did a deep dive into the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, also referred to as Traction. In this session, they'll have a discussion with Garrett about his experience implementing EOS in his business. They'll discuss how he knew his team had hit the ceiling and needing an operating system to break through to the next level of growth, the decision process he used to choose a system, and how he landed on EOS, his experience with EOS thus far, both the good and the bad, and how he sees EOS changing the future of his business.
Welcome everybody today. Thank you for joining us for a conversation between Brett and Garrett about EOS implementation, some real world experiences. I got to sit in on a pre-conversation with them last week. It's really, really interesting stuff, and I'm excited to hear them dive into the conversation. But before we do that, I would like to introduce our 2 panelists for today. We have Brett, who has already been introduced twice in the last 2 webinars, which you can go back and listen to if you'd like to. So I'm not going to give the full introduction for him. But Brett has done a ton of different things, from being CFO of a $1 billion insurance company to helping a company go from a $400K loss to a $1.2 million profit in just a few years. Fell in love with the Traction system after reading the book, and you can hear all about his story there. Again, in a previous webinar, he lives in Atlanta, Georgia, with his dogs and children and wife now. So we will move over to Garrett, who thankfully gave me a very long, about 20-minute bio, but I'm going to have to shorten that for him. So I will shorten it down to what I know about Garrett, which is that he has been with Badger Rental for 15 years. He's actually the 3rd generation to run Badger Rental. He's been the president and CEO since 2017. Garrett, you're also on the Area of Georgia board, are you not?
That is correct.
And he's on the Area of Georgia board. He's a stock car racer, which you can see behind his head. To his right is a giant trophy. That's a national stock car trophy back there. He is an offshore fisherman, just finished snapper season. I'm not sure if he has any awards in that one, but if he'll move just a little bit to the left, we can see his other trophies, which are for barbecuing. Is that correct? You've never done a barbecue competition that you've lost, have you?
I've won every single barbecue competition that I've ever entered.
And how many have you entered?
1.
And how many have you won? Very good.
Test.
He also calls him a technology aficionado, or in his words, tech head. He's a longtime industry advocate, very active in peer groups, and we are excited to have this conversation between the 2 of them. We will be doing some Q&A sometimes throughout, but mostly at the end of this. So if you have any burning questions for Garrett or Brett, that their conversation spurs, please ask that in the Q&A box, and we will get to that. The initial part of this, or the first half, is probably going to be conversation, mostly between the 2 of them, about Garrett's implementation. With Brett's got some prepared questions that he's going to go through with Garrett, and then they're really going to dive deep into some of the brains and the working parts of the EOS implementation process. And so from that, gentlemen, I will mute myself and my video and let you both take it from there.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you. Well, I tell you what, I'll get us started here. So as y'all can tell, I'm wearing my Badger gear. Garrett's one of my absolute favorite clients, and EOS Champ runs a great business. So I'm super excited about this. Other than they say in the performance world to never share a stage with animals or children. And named after an animal, sometimes acts like a child. So I'm at a little risk here, but I'm confident this is going to work out. So are you ready, Garrett?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right. So do this for us, please. Give us a little background. Give us kind of the 3-minute on Badger, how it started, how you came to run it, and don't be bashful. Tell people how successful you've been.
Sure. So Badger Rental Services is a third-generation family-owned and operated business down here in Savannah, Georgia, where we provide the greater Savannah area with quality construction equipment rental. And the business actually started under a oak tree that is located about 300 yards outside of my home's front door on a piece of land that used to be a campground, which was my grandfather's first business. That didn't work out, so he took a job in a local paper plant and noticed that there was such a growing need for rental equipment here in the area, and just started small with a few pieces, an air compressor and a couple of plate packers, and soon grew to a full-time gig for him. In the late 80s, we actually moved into Garden City, which is the industrial suburb of Savannah, Georgia, where we still have our business, and hired his two sons-in-laws, my dad and my uncle, and they grew the business to to what it's become. And in 2017, my two cousins and I purchased the business and have been running it ever since.
All right. And how have y'all done? Give us a feel.
I've been very fortunate to be part of the team that's continued to grow the success at Badger and to carry on the family name for the past 2 years. The company has been named one of the Top Gun recipients by peer industrial groups, and we've continued to grow in size and profitability and to better serve Savannah and our customers. So we've been very, very fortunate.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Garrett is pretty humble. They're running a great business, strong balance sheet, beautiful location. So really doing a great job. In the U.S. world, we think a lot, we talk a lot about hitting the ceiling, this idea that businesses don't grow in this nice linear path. They grow for a while, things go well, and then they start to flatten out, and you feel stuck. Now, it sounds like y'all have done well for a long time, but what made you feel like y'all were hitting the ceiling? Maybe y'all were stuck.
Sure, Brett. So, every business seems to follow this hitting the ceiling pattern. But in particular, family businesses that are transitioning throughout the generations, run into their own unique situations. My uncle and my dad pretty much co-managed the business in a very 50-50 way. They kind of occupied the same title, were very much alike in their personalities and strengths. My business partners and I are not that way. We're very different people, which we celebrate and are very grateful for. But we knew that to continue to have success in the industry, we were going to have to grow in complexity, and we were going to have to, make space for everybody's individual strengths. We also have a partner who is part owner, but is not in the daily operation of the business. So we had to figure out how that was going to work. And, we knew that we had to keep going forward, and to do that, we were going to have to change the way that we governed the business. Traction's been a huge part of that. It's been very good for us. It has worked out very well.
Yeah. It's old adage that what got us here ain't necessarily going to get us to the next place.
Yeah, that's right. So, we talked about last time that the dynamics of a family business are complex in a way that, when the founder starts the business, what's good for the family is automatically good for the business. As that moves into the second generation, now there aren't 2 people, there are 4 people involved. The personal interest and the business interest may become misaligned a little bit, but by the time that the business moves into the third generation, if you're not careful and you're not very intentional about how you set up the business, those personal interests and business interests may become, perpendicular to each other, and the business might not serve the interest of the family might not serve the interest of the business. So it takes a lot of intention and a lot of good planning and a lot of good conversations to get it going right.
Yeah, and that's a real good point. Knowing both you and your cousin Aaron, very different skills, but both of you are very much needed. And while it might have worked for your dads to just kind of share and do the same, use the same skills, it came a point where you needed a structure. Need to get really specific, an accountability chart, and let's fit in and see where are we going to fit. And we find that a lot. We got a lot of talents, but it's how do we put them in the right seat so we can really use them?
Yeah, you're dead on the money, Brett. There was so much energy and so much forward momentum created by getting really clear on what the organization looks like on paper and what are the key responsibilities for everybody's role inside of the company, and what also were not the key responsibility roles for me personally and for Aaron personally. And really allowed us to focus in on our area of expertise, our area of responsibility, and it's a really, really powerful thing when you get clear on who's accountable and who reports to who.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, back us up just a little. So you guys took over the business, ran it for a couple of years. At some point, you said, we need a system, or we need a different system.
Sure.
Then what was your decision process after that? How did you end up, or no, I'll just let you take it away. What was your process after that?
Well, Brett, I'm a natural reader. I love business books. I love nonfiction. And as a company, we really connected with the ideas of books like The E-Myth Revisited and Good to Great, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And every time we would try to take a strong system like that and implement it into our business, we always found that it was a little too complicated or a little too intellectual. And we really had a problem taking those really good ideas and concepts and putting them into a very practical daily operation that would benefit Badger, from the top of the organization all the way down to the bottom, to get us the forward momentum that we needed. When I was in one of my peer group meetings, I'm a part of a peer group through peer group.
Peer executive group.
Peer executive group. Thank you very much. Sorry, Dan. We talked about this book called Traction, and I picked it up and read it, and it seemed to be this great distillation of all the best ideas from the E-Myth Revisited and from Good to Great, with a lot more practical insights that we really felt like was were powerful enough to make a difference, but we're also very practical in a way that I felt like me and my team could execute very well. And on top of it, comes with a pretty fantastic implementer. It's a guy named Brett.
Yeah, always go with the bold ones. It's always
right.
It's always my belief that that's where you can get the best bang for your buck.
That's right.
So I don't know if I ever told you. We probably did. I ran EOS in my business back when I had a healthcare business, and I found a lot of the same things. And that was EOS was comprehensive, but simple enough with a nice kind of wrapper, a nice cohesive system that you could execute on. And one of the things that it took me a while to get my arms around this, but once you get the execution framework put in place, all those other books and nuggets, you can use all those within EOS.
Absolutely.
So if you learn something about incentive systems from the great game of business, pull that into EOS, make it a rock, and you can execute on it.
Yeah, that's right. Something else that was really powerful for us, and that really made the decision to go with EOS and Traction an easy one, is I had already known so many people in my peer group that had started the Traction process, and I'd seen all the benefit that the added clarity and energy that the Traction process gave those guys. We were eager to give it a try.
Good. Yeah, and what we find is that a lot of times people in peer groups do better with these systems because they're always focused on improving their business.
Yes.
So, don't tell anybody, okay, but EOS doesn't make your business great, right? You make your business great. EOS just gets rid of the issues and the noise that keeps you from executing. So when you have a group of people like that, they're focused on improving their business, a lot of times it rises to the top.
Absolutely.
So we've been in this process for a while. We started kind of right before Christmas. Give the group a feel for where we are. Let's just start there. Where are we in the process, and what do you feel like right now?
Yeah, well, like you said, we've been hard after it for 8 months now, and I would consider us as a leadership team. We've got all the big tools in place. We've got our vision laid out for the company. We have all the big stuff in place at the leadership team level, and then we began to push the traction tools down to the rest of the company in the last month or so.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and so for those of you out there thinking about EOS, almost everything in the system is let's build it and then make sure that we implement it throughout the business. So the vision or any other parts, not just for the leadership team, it's for the whole company. And the way we approach this is about a 60 to 75 day sprint to get the foundational tools, the vision traction organizer, get clear on our vision, learn how to set rocks, get meetings in place, write scorecard, start getting the traction we want, and then rolling it out through the business. So you're kind of in those early stages. So what's it been like? I mean, what's the process been like?
Yeah, well, it's been great, man. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of doing the kind of work that I'm not used to doing, but that I should be doing. So it's traction is a wonderful way of making sure that as CEO, I'm spending enough time working on the business, instead of getting sucked into the daily operation of working in the business all day long. And I think without a system in place, unless you're a very disciplined person, which I'm not, you have a tough time, spending enough time working on your business.
Mm-hmm. And why is that? Because you said the kind of work that you should be doing as opposed to you want to be doing. Why do you get sucked into the day to day?
Well, the things that are urgent always have a really hard pull on your time. So the phone's ringing, the sales counter's got people standing there. There are problems in the maintenance operation. You got all these things going on, and you feel a tremendous pull to go out there and help. Because you feel like it's your job to lead and to be out front. And if you're not careful, all those urgent things can rob you from spending time on the important things. And before you know it, you look back and, all the important work that you should be doing that only you are truly equipped to do, as the CEO, didn't get done because of the, I call it the tyranny of the urgent.
Yeah.
It's always this constant gravitational force to suck you back in. And, EOS has really given us a powerful mechanism in the weekly meetings and in the quarterly offsites to really, really, really help me refocus and reframe. Hey, listen, my job is to work on the business. So it's been a really, really helpful thing for us, and it's let us achieve things that we have spent years trying to achieve in just 8 months. I mean, we've made more progress on the big picture, really important stuff at Badger Rental Service in the past 8 months than we have, the other 3 years that I've been in charge. Yeah,
well, it's a great observation, especially those leaders that care about their employees and care about their customers. Those are the ones that are most at risk of getting sucked into the day to day because they don't want anybody to suffer. And what we find as we go through this is with the right structure and processes, it's not easy, right? It doesn't just happen. Right structure and processes, you empower other people to do that stuff and do it really well so you can work on the things you need to. And the truth is, they're dependent on you to work on the business, because if you don't have a business in 2 or 3 years.
That's right.
So
yes,
that's critical stuff. So
critical stuff, especially in these times, Brett. And we talked about this, during this pandemic, when our rhythm as a leader is interrupted, either by, not being able to visit that coffee shop once a week and get into a quiet place where you can think, or not being able to, take the time to work on your business because, you're short staffed and you're really busy, or, however this thing has impacted people. It's more important than ever to be able to have a strong mechanism like EOS to be able to make sure that I am spending the time that I need to spend on the things that are most important.
Yeah. So going through the pandemic, share the example you talked about the other day. How having a scorecard, one little tool, really changed the way you think about things.
Absolutely. So, everybody here on this webinar is in the rental industry, I'm assuming, and if you're familiar with the concept of sometimes when you're really busy, you're not really profitable, and when you're really profitable, sometimes it doesn't look really busy in the showroom. The phones aren't ringing off the hook, but the reality of the situation is most of your equipment is out on a job site. No major problems are going on, and it's on rent, and that's a good thing. But when the phone's not ringing and there aren't customers in the showroom, it can feel like you're slow. And, that makes it really, really dangerous to try and just get a vague idea of how you're doing based on your perception of what you see out there, in your business. And in the coronavirus pandemic, that feeling of not knowing and the anxiety that it can cause has been ratcheted up even higher. So having a tool like a scorecard, which for those of you who don't know what a scorecard is, it's just 5 to 7 numbers that are really important to your business. That if you had to run your business on an island, what are the most important things that you need to know, about your business and how it's doing. And that scorecard has been invaluable for me and my leadership team, because we're not guessing, we're not running off of how we feel or how we think. We're looking at concrete data to let us know, hey, listen, things are actually a little bit better than we thought. Let's keep going, or if things get bad, we can catch it quicker than we would have otherwise, and make better plans around it. And the scorecard has gained me lots of hours of sleep and has provided us with lots of good actionable data throughout this 4 months that this has been going on. That's probably the one tool that I've been most grateful for during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, that's a great observation. You hear the term read and react. Read, react. An athlete might read, react. When I ran my business, I just reacted. No reading. And so if you react before you read, or react in the absence of data, you just end up whipping your organization all over the place. So when I finally got a scorecard, it's like, I can have a more sober approach to things and think through it and make an adjustment that really fit the organization better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great, the other things that when I talk to people running EOS is having the regular meeting cadence and the right communication mechanisms have been really helpful, because it's hard to implement those things in the midst of the crisis. You almost have to have them beforehand.
Yes. Yeah. So, these tools are very important, during this whole coronavirus thing, and to try to develop a tool while we're going through the event would be almost impossible. It's like when this opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. So my team and I, we were very grateful to have all that work done already, and we've definitely reaped the benefit of it.
Good. So you said, and by the way, before I jump to the next question, if you guys got questions, please enter them in the chat box. Josh is capturing them. If there's one we need to answer now, we'll get it now. If not, we'll get it a little while when we do Q&A. You said you're in the early parts of rolling it out. What do you mean by that? What are you doing right now in terms of getting EOS deeper in your business?
Sure. So, we've actually shared the vision, shared the entire vision traction organizer with the team, with the whole team. We've had opportunity to share the accountability chart with the team, and actually sat down with each different division and, really got in fine detail about the accountability chart and the vision. And, it's provided us with an opportunity to have a lot of conversations with the team members. And they're really interested in the vision. They are really interested in the direction that the company that they work at are going. Lots of times we don't think about how powerful it is to have everybody in the organization, pointed in one direction and all, rowing the boat at the same time. And it's been a really good thing for us. We've also implemented department level meetings. We've been meeting as a leadership team for probably 6-7 months now. But in the last month, we've actually implemented the L10 meeting format into the different departments at Badger, and it's provided some some powerful momentum too. That's
great. Yeah, and all you guys listening out there, never underestimate how much your team or your people, your extended team, everybody in your business wants to know about your vision.
Absolutely.
Even the ones that you think don't care, they care. Okay, they're there for a reason. They want to be working long into the future. They absolutely care about your vision. So share it with them, and that will pay off long way down the road.
Yep.
So you're in this implementation process. If you think of, and it's been a fairly short journey thus far, 8 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
What's been the most challenging aspect, and what's been the biggest win or the thing you like best about this?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that the most challenging aspect of the entire things are the very frank conversations that the clarity in your organization creates. So one of the foundational tools of traction is the people analyzer, and part of the people analyzer is this question that we always ask of each individual employee. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to perform their duties? GWC. And those three questions have provided us with a lot of clarity around maybe a employee's performance that they weren't quite happy and we weren't quite happy, but it was hard to really put a finger on what the problem was. It's provided us with a good tool to analyze the situation and provide them some feedback, and that's gonna create a lot of conversations around that. And it's been challenging to have those conversations, but it's also been very, very healthy for the organization. And I would say that the best thing is all the energy that's getting the vision nailed down and the chart of responsibilities nailed down, and just all the clarity that creates in everybody's mind, has provided us with a momentum that I don't know, it's hard to verbalize, but it feels different in the organization now that everybody knows when they show up, hey, this is my job, this is what I'm responsible for, this is what I'm accountable for.
Yeah, and that's a common theme. Something we always need to think about is clarity, and this system drives a lot of clarity. Clarity creates energy. Okay, yes. To the extent people are on board, because now they know, okay, here's where we're going, here's my role, and if they're the right people, that's energizing. On the other hand, or along with, I shouldn't say on the other hand, but along with that, clarity brings accountability. Yes. And if people aren't a fit, and for those of you out there that ever reading Jim Collins, you hear about right people, right seats, or getting the right people on the bus. That's what the people analyzer is answering. Is this the right person? Do they fit my values? And are they in the right seat? And having that tool, it doesn't make those conversations fun or easy. They're still difficult.
That's right.
But it gives you something to work on and talk to. So instead of me saying, Garrett, you need to do better, it's Garrett and I sitting down, looking at the tool and build a plan to get him where he needs to be. And eventually he may get where he needs to be, or eventually he may decide that he'll be happier someplace else. But you're using the tool, treating people with openness and honesty, and working through the process.
Yeah, we found that whole process really gives somebody who's not a good fit for the organization to self-select out of that seat. When you sit down and you explain the people analyzer and their position in the chart of responsibility, it is super clear what's expected of them, and it's super clear, what success looks like in that position, and it gives everybody an incredible opportunity to say, hey, listen, I really understand where the company's going. I understand my role's part in that vision, and I just don't want to be a part of it.
Right.
So I think it's a very powerful time, for somebody that, doesn't need to be on the bus to go, hey, listen, I need to get off this bus because it's going somewhere that I don't want to go.
And have you had anybody at this point that made that decision? It's time to get off?
No, we haven't.
Yeah. You will sooner or later.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But again, that clarity is really helpful. What's it been like in terms of your leadership team, in terms of your communication? And has that been a positive? Has that been difficult? What's that been like?
So the leadership team has probably benefited the most from the EOS system. We are not a natural meeting, type organization. We've always been just kind of get out there and get it done. Maybe a little huddle here and there, but certainly no formal structure to our meetings before this. And part of the reason that you really need an implementer to help you through this process is because he can lend some credibility to some of the big asks that you're going to be asking your leadership team to do, like meeting for an hour and a half every week, which was a radical change for us. And that was met with some skepticism and some hey, listen, we don't have time to stop work for an hour and a half every week to meet. And Brett really did a good job at really connecting the why behind why we need to stop and have this meeting every single week. And we're 6 months in, 7 months into leadership team level L10, and I can tell you every single person on my leadership team can't imagine doing their job without being in that L10 meeting now. There's no doubt about that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. What's the saying in traction? In the beginning, they may fight it, but later they'll fight for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So my leadership team fights for that L10 meeting.
Yeah, good. And look, it's normal to be skeptical because most meetings are not good. Most meetings are unproductive, and meetings tend to devolve into two things: a status update and discussion without facts. And L10s are neither of those. We want 90 minutes. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the level 10 meeting, I won't walk you through the whole agenda, but it's really 90 minutes to make sure that as a leadership team, we're checking in on things we have to do, which is hit our scorecard metrics, move our rocks or quarterly projects down the road, and take care of our people. And then to the extent we're not doing any of those, we're working issues and building to-dos and knocking out all the near-term things. And what teams almost always find, and except for the rare exception where they're just not a fit for the system, they almost always find is that 90 minutes might save them 3 or 4 or 5 hours over the course of the week in little meetings and phone calls and interrupted work. So it's a time saver ultimately. Yes.
And it's a time at Badger too, where all the information that needs to get broken out of the silos, whether it might be the maintenance department that, knows something that the office staff needs to know about, but they just didn't think to tell them, or, the sales department needs to let the facilities ops team know. We find so many examples when we're in that meeting, where I might be talking about an issue to the head of the maintenance department, and the facilities operation team goes, "Oh, really? That's an issue? We can fix that." And there's just so much that clicks in when you look back, specifically with the issues part of the meetings. When you look back and you see just how many small things that were holding your company back have been knocked out and are no longer an issue, that is a cool feeling.
Yeah.
And something we just otherwise we just simply wouldn't have dealt with it. So it's been a really cool thing to go back and look at that archived issues list and to see the dozens and dozens of issues that were pretty big issues, that are now they're not issues anymore.
Yeah. I once was in solving issues with a client, and there had been a miscommunication between marketing and operations before we started the process. And operations was actually trying to do the opposite of what marketing wanted. And we didn't learn this till we worked this issue, and in 4 minutes saved $750,000. So that doesn't happen every time. So don't hold me to that.
Yeah, we haven't had that happen yet.
Yeah, but every once in a while you get a winner like that.
When's it going to happen for me, Brett? I got to know.
So trick question, I haven't prepared you for this. How
Okay.
long do you plan to run EOS?
How long do I plan to run EOS?
Yeah, in your business.
I plan on running EOS as long as I run my business. Not necessarily in the way that we are putting so much effort into implementing it now. But we plan on using the tools and the disciplines and the clarity that the EOS program has given us in our business. Some of them now it's not an option. Like, we need to have some of the tools that are in place, like the L10 meetings, like the chart of responsibility, like the vision traction organizer. We need them now. So it's not a question of when I plan on stopping. This is now kind of it's baked into who we are and how we do business.
Yeah. So I'm glad you answered that way. I thought I shouldn't tee this up without
That was
asking.
a risk.
But that's the thing. This is a way of life. It would be analogous to changing your eating and exercise habits versus going on a crash diet.
Yes.
So
right.
we implement EOS and you run it forever, 90 days at a time. Let's focus on the right things and get those knocked out. Now, you don't run it with me forever.
Right.
Okay? It's a couple of years of me coaching you into this process. And then my goal is to get you independent. Now, if you want me to come back after that, well, I'd love to. But my goal is to get you independent where you can run the system without me. So that's just something, I want people to understand. This is not a flash in the pan or a miracle cure. This is a steady discipline of running your business, getting clear on your objectives every 90 days and making sure you execute on those.
Brett, can we spend a minute to talk about why EOS runs on these 90-day windows? It's been a very powerful part of what's made it so effective for us. And I've even told you before we go into one of our quarterly meetings that, man, like my team and myself, we are like running out of steam. We are running out of energy to put into the EOS system. We're not necessarily making as much progress on our rocks as I thought that we would have at this point. And I kind of walked into one of those meetings discouraged. And I told you before the meeting, I hope that this kind of stokes a fire back under us, because we really need, we need to be re-engaged into this process if it's going to work for us. And, it did, man. We walk out of that meeting with a renewed commitment to get our work done and a renewed focus on the things that are most important, because, in the book Traction, they talk about, the human mind can only focus for about 90 days.
Right.
After that, we begin to kind of just drift off into what we've always done, or, whatever the newest distraction might be for us, but having that 90-day refocus has been very, very powerful for us.
Yeah. And so you really hit the nail on the head. At about 90 days, we start to get frazzled. And some of that is real biological science. Some of that is systems that come before Rockefeller habits and other things that said, this 90-day cadence works best. It also happens to be kind of a great rhythm for taking annual goals and breaking them into manageable chunks. So not only is this the right amount of time for us, but when we have annual goals, usually we want to break those into 90-day chunks, because an annual goal is too big. We can't, none of us can, if we say we want to put in all new computer systems, it's just too big. If we say this quarter we want to select the system, hire the vendor, and write the requirements, okay, we can do that. And then we'll move to the next step next time. So yeah, it's a great observation. Us EOS implementers, we have quarterlies every, we're the same. Every 90 days I go in, I'm like all confused and not clear, and we come out of there with clarity. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's a powerful rhythm that before EOS we paid no attention to. It was just kind of like one continuous slog to wherever it was that we were going. We never were really clear, but it was just kind of like one continuous unbreaking march. And now we feel like we really are sprinting to those 90-day goals, and we are accomplishing so much more than we would have otherwise.
Yeah, and so another good point, without that 90-day cadence, teams go one of two directions. Some drift off and get lazy, some work themselves to a nub, neither one of which is good. And so that 90 days, it gives us a chance to celebrate, pat yourself on the back. You got a lot of stuff done. A lot of times we'll have teams that may have set 9 rocks and they got 6 done. Well, that's only 67%. But we got 6 things done, 6 big things done for the business. That's more than you got the last 3 years. So it's really, not speaking to your team specifically, but it's really powerful in that respect. I
Absolutely.
love it.
Whenever we leave the meetings, I always feel like, well, maybe I wasn't aggressive enough setting my rocks. But then, when I get into it, I'm like, no, this is enough. I'm glad that I kind of exercise some discipline and not overcommitting ourselves to too much in those 3-month windows, because then we could really do a good job at what we committed to.
Yeah, and you're still early in the process. Over time, the system will reduce the variability in your processes. You'll have less unexpected stuff popping up, and you'll have a better feel for how much time you really have to focus on rocks.
Yeah.
Early days, we still got a lot of variance going on, and we got to keep working the system. Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
Yep.
So if you look out in the future, how do you see EOS affecting your business in the long run? How's it changed the way you look forward is maybe a better question.
Sure. So before EOS, we were 25 employees, very, very busy, with the organization basically being totally flat. Everybody that worked there could come walk up to me or Aaron and say, hey, what do you want me to do about this? What do you want me to do about that? And we were at the very top of our capacity as an organization to do anything. So, we kind of started this process for a year or two where we would add an employee and not see any extra production, because we were not placing them in a system that would allow them to contribute. We would add equipment and not see any extra revenue, because the system was capped. And now, gaining all the clarity, having a clear vision, communicating everything down into the organization where we can get everybody rowing in the same direction. It's provided that extra capacity for us to grow into the future that we want, without killing ourselves, without living at the office, So, Aaron and I, we do not envision a future where we're working 80 hours a week. We want to be, we want to be able to go out and spend time with our families, while they're still here in our homes, and to be a blessing to our communities in other different ways. We expected this EOS system is going to allow us to accomplish the goals inside the business, without sacrificing ourselves.
Yeah. So, one thing that you hit on there, and that's you're making people successful. We got to remember, people want to be successful. And a lot of times when people hear about EOS or any operating systems, they think of it as just kind of a way to drive more productivity people and drive harder. And of course, we do want more productivity, but EOS is really about three things. It's about getting crystal clear in our vision, so we know where we're going, because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. Getting that traction, discipline, and accountability, and then getting healthy functional teams. And if we do this right, it's a better place to work. This isn't a place where we're just putting the screws to people. It's a better place for everybody involved.
We know that the people that we want working at our organization, they want to know how they're doing. They want to know what they can do to be a better team member, and they want to move up the organization. They want to be promoted, and they want to work for a place where if they work hard and if they do what they're asked, they'll be rewarded for it, and that they'll be appreciated and have the opportunity to work in their strengths. And we plan on being that place at Badger. And without the clarity that the EOS system provides, it would be a lot more difficult.
Well, great. Yeah, good to hear. Oftentimes I'll ask business owners, are you making all the money you want, growing profitably, working with the team you love, and with enough time to take care of your family and other stuff? And a lot of times we think we can only have one or two of those. You absolutely can have all three. You got to get the right system. It takes a lot of hard work.
That's right.
So before we turn over to Q&A, tell the group, what advice do you have? Somebody's thinking, maybe they're feeling stuck, thinking to maybe choose a system. What advice do you have?
Well, I'm very aware that EOS is not perfect for everybody. There are some companies out there where it's just going to be too much work, and it's going to be too big of a commitment for the leadership team to go through. But I would say that you owe it to yourself to read the book, to read Traction. I know there are several other great books. How to be a great boss is one of the other books by Gino Wickman that we really gained a lot of inspiration from. And even if you only gain an insight about one tool, and that helps your business, it's going to be so worth it. But I would say that everybody should get in touch with an implementer. There are implementers all across the country, and they'll sit down with you for 90 minutes just to have a conversation about what EOS is, ask some questions about your business, and see if it might be a good fit and worth exploring. And it might not be right for everybody, but I'm very, very glad that we did.
Well, good. And I guess I would just re-emphasize what Garrett said about getting in touch with an implementer, which sounds self-serving, but it's our job to help you whether you work with us or not. And so I couldn't be more adamant about that. I would rather help somebody and have them not use me than not get the chance to help them at all. So look, if you want to learn about the system, how you can even implement one or two tools yourself, find an implementer. All right, good. So we got about 10 or 11 minutes left. So let's answer a few questions. I hope there's some questions out there.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm back. I still don't have a Badger hat because nobody sent me one, but I'm back to ask questions.
Good.
All right, so the first question that we want to go with is, do you do a weekly cadence at the departmental level? And then how do you find time to hold these meetings for the yard or sales counter?
So the department level meetings were a little bit more difficult to achieve buy-in for everybody that works at Badger than the leadership team meeting. We actually do the department level meetings every 2 weeks, and we have stripped down the L10 format a little bit depending on which department it is. They're working great right now, but we hope to eventually build up to, a more proper L10 format and a weekly meeting with each department. And, we are very, it's difficult to get those departments together. It's hard to pick a time during the week where every single delivery driver in your entire organization is there in the office to have a meeting. So, our sales team knows that, hey, on Tuesdays, don't schedule a delivery before 9 o'clock in the morning, because first thing Tuesday morning, the drivers are going to have their meeting, the rest of the meetings are pretty easily achieved. The facility operations team, the guys who are unloading and loading customers in the yard, or stacking scaffolding and moving equipment around. Those guys, we just had the maintenance department come in and cover their spot for the hour. But it takes, vice versa. So when the mechanics meet, we'll have the facilities operation guys, go and cover their spot, for whatever mechanic wise may have to happen during that hour. We have found unforeseen benefit with this whole thing, in that everybody has gained kind of a better appreciation of the other department's job through this, because they've now sat in their seat for an hour at a time 4 or 5 times now. So we've seen an added benefit from that also.
Yeah, that's a good benefit. And This is always a challenge, rolling out to lower levels in the organization. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things you touched on. We'll modify the agenda and always shorten it, down to an hour, 45 minutes. Yeah. The important thing is that the people on those teams feel like they have a time where they can come raise their issues and work together to solve issues. And at first they might be, oh no, I don't want a meeting. But again, kind of like the leadership team, they'll almost always get that buy-in.
Yeah, and we have found that at the very beginning, it was a challenge to get our guys to bring issues to the meeting, because they at first seen it as kind of like, well, I don't want to complain, or I don't want to, cause any trouble. But as soon as they connected the fact that, hey, listen, the issues list is there for me to get the things that are holding me back from doing a better job gone, to kind of clear the path for me to do a better job and to be more successful in my position, then the issues started to come, and we really got a chance to have, all those issues squashed with the departments. And it was, but the issues component of the department level L10 meetings were a challenge, and the scorecard for the department level meetings, continue to be a challenge, but we're getting closer every day.
Yeah, good stuff.
Are there any items on your scorecard that you track that you didn't expect to be tracking, or that surprised you, that are valuable?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different items on the leadership level scorecard that we just kind of bumped into that really provide us with insight. One example of that is we track how many deliveries are made by mechanics every week. So the only reason that a mechanic is going to be out on a delivery means that every other delivery driver that we have is already out, in the field making a delivery. And, we look at that and we say, hey, listen, we don't want a week where there's no deliveries by mechanics, because that means we probably had too many delivery drivers, with not enough deliveries. But in the same sense, we don't want 15 deliveries by a mechanic in a single week, because, well, that probably means that we don't have enough delivery drivers. So we look at this metric, deliveries by mechanic, and we say, hey, listen, if we have 5 to 15 deliveries by a mechanic every week, that that's an acceptable range. That means we don't have too many delivery drivers, and but we still have enough to get it done. So there are lots of metrics like that we look at that we didn't anticipate being important, but they always point to something else more significant.
So that is the first time, and maybe it's just me, that I have heard of that metric. How did you come up with that metric?
Really smart business partner of mine made it up. Yeah, we just, we know that when things are really busy, the shop suffers because we're pulling the mechanics out of the bays to go make a delivery. And it's a constant source of frustration that, hey, listen, when business really turns up, and we got all these deliveries to make, equipment's coming in and out faster, but we don't have the mechanics to be back there checking it out because they're on the road in a pickup truck, dragging an air compressor. Well, through some conversation and working that issue, we really said, well, hey, why don't we watch it? Why don't we measure it every week? Let's just stick it on there and try. And it turned out to be a really important metric for us.
So it sounds like it started out as a rock.
Well, it started out as an issue.
An issue. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so, Dale, our maintenance supervisor, put it on the issues list because, every time we got busy, the facilities operation team was dragging his mechanics in a pickup truck, and we worked through the issue. We IDS the issue. Brett, can you share a little bit about what IDS is and how we use it inside of an L10 meeting?
Yeah, and so back up a little. Almost everything in the EOS starts life as an issue. It gets on the issue list, and we work that. We identify. IDS stands for Identify, Discuss, Solve. Identify means that before we try to run this to ground, we get to the root of the issue, not the surface issue, but we push for the root of the issue. Then we have a short discussion, and because if you've gotten to the root of the issue, you don't need a real long discussion. And then we solve a 1 to 2 week specific, this is what's going to get it done. And that solve can take different forms. It could be, we're going to go execute on this, or you might say, our solve is to put it on the scorecard and let's track it. In this case, that's become a very important metric. And it also just, draws to light that so much of this process is iterative. We don't go in a room and come out with a perfect solution. Yep. We go in a room, we come out with frameworks, and as we work those over time, we get them really dialed in.
Yeah, so our scorecard at our leadership team level and at most of the department levels now don't look anything like they did when we first started. And when we first started, we really felt a lot of pressure to create the perfect scorecard. And, we looking back at it now, we really should have just put some stuff up there, looked at it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then decided, hey, listen, is this really providing us with that valuable forward-looking indicator information that we wanted, or should we change it out for something else or just drop it? So we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves at the beginning to get it perfect. And, we all know that's not going to happen.
What do you do about metrics that are very important, but for whatever reason in your business, they're consistently good? So I've been to your location before, and I know how clean and well operated it is. And so while some people, safety hazards, for example, might be really, really high up on their list, something they need to track and fix, I could almost see it being something that hits your list, and then you just stop tracking it because it's never a problem. That being said, if it ever was a problem, it would be a really big issue. So how would you address something like that? Would you allow it to fall off because you're always doing it well, but if it turned into an issue, put it on there? Or how does stuff like that work out?
I would think that if it is an important enough issue like safety, and we're consistently knocking it out of the park in a way that it really doesn't merit a spot on the leadership team scorecard, maybe it could get pushed down into a department and then broken apart into a few different different metrics that could give them some better information than just, hey, are we doing this great? Yeah, we still are. Let's move on. Maybe there's some better or different information that would be more meaningful in a department level meeting that would, be more valuable to the company.
Brett, do you have any thoughts from your experience on that?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things. Now, safety, is something you never want to lose sight of. But you take some things like
example too. But
I'm sorry.
Sorry, it said safety is probably not the best example. something.
But take some sales metrics, quality, speed. Those are ones where a lot of times they remain critical, and so we gradually raise the bar. We don't want to set people up to fail, but if we have a sales target of 30 sales calls per week and we're consistently hitting that, we'll gradually raise the bar because we want to keep on growing as an organization. So we'll raise them until such point that they become just a no-brainer, and if they're a no-brainer and they're not risky, we will remove them at that point.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we are right up against our time limit here. Thank you both so much for joining us. I've learned some stuff today. I'm sure the people who have attended today have learned a lot too. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to discuss it. And Garrett, sharing your specific examples, I think is really meaningful to a lot of other rental companies. So I really appreciate that. So thanks again, guys, and everybody else who attended. And we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Peer Talk. My name is Dan Crowley, and our guest today has been Garrett Shurling from Badger Rental Services. Check in next week for another episode of Peer Talk.
You've been listening to Peer Talk from Peer Executive Groups, produced and directed by Noah Crowley and hosted by Dan Crowley. Subscribe to this podcast for notifications of future episodes of Peer Talk.